Hey guys and girls, and welcome to a newest What If here, and obviously today, as you can read in the title and in the thumbnail, we're doing What If Naruto was Konoha's best spy, part 1. And, well, yeah, of course I said newish because I have done a similar one to this, but it was What If Naruto was a female spy. So, yeah, and if you're wondering, hey, you said Monday that you was going to be uploading part 5 to What If Naruto was born as a Nico. Well, the reason why I'm not doing it is due to the low somewhat viewership, and nobody's asked me for a part 5. Thus, I'm doing this one instead because it's a somewhat new What If. Yeah, anyway though, let's get into this one. So, when did we start? Well, it start around, say, when Naruto would be around probably, 9 years old, 9 years old, when, we need somewhat finally start, understanding the transformation to a, somewhat higher degree, where he'd finally been able to transform into Iruka or, Hiruzen, the third Hokage. And Naruto would somewhat be at the bookstore that he'd taken Konohamaru to, and was somewhat wondering as he'd seen, men in that look at somewhat obviously women at a certain way, as he'd was wondering why was that. So, yeah, the person would somewhat obviously spot Naruto and Sion would tell Naruto that obviously he wasn't a damned library. Though Naruto would somewhat ask him, obviously, some question, the person would state that, again, he wasn't a library, and that if he wanted to know to go to a library, though Naruto would ask how Naruto would somewhat, though, wouldn't just somewhat believe him, though eventually would end up, though the person would end up telling him to either somewhat leave or he would throw him out, which Naruto would put the book back and would leave. Though somewhat Sion would advance and would end up going to the library because, maybe the person was somewhat right. After all, Though so Naruto would head to the library. And once he'd somewhat entered, asked the person at the front desk, the librarian being a somewhat off-duty Anpu, so the person would always change. Would ask the person where he could somewhat learn, just the differences between boys and girls, as maybe someone understand the differences between that would make him understand why, and the person the said Amber would think obviously that it was obviously for the transformation, so he'd show Naruto where the book was and would even get it for him, though the librarian would state to Naruto to put it back once he was done with it. Naruto would nod and 3 hours would go by as Naruto had read over the book 2 to 3, if not 4 or 5 times to make sure he understood everything. And though he still wouldn't understand, why, grown males still, looked at girls in that way, he was still very much confused. Well, though he'd somewhat obviously remember about the transformation as he'd somewhat realised that now he knew obviously somewhat why he couldn't quite get down. Maybe, now he knew this, or the differences between boys and girls. Maybe he could, and a child and an adult, maybe he could finally now do, transform into Iruka properly, or his Gigi Hiruzen. So he'd put the book back and end up leaving, and that night he'd finally succeed in transforming into Hiruzen and Iruka. And And of course, though, after doing that, I'd somewhat think about if he would end up remembering something again, somewhat from Iruka's somewhat class or lecture, that the transformation didn't have no real, like, its only downside was that it obviously constantly consumed chakra when you transformed. Thus, for most people, it was somewhat kind of useless to them, because they wouldn't have a large amount of a large chakra pool to actually properly use the transformation in any meaningful somewhat way. Then that would be because he'd have large reserves, and he'd somewhat wonder if he'd be able to transform into different animals or different things, as that after all it was just so after class the next day, he'd once again end up going to the library, surprising some people that were there the day before, as they were surprised that Naruto even came to the library, as Naruto very much didn't like reading. And from there, and Naruto would ask about if there was a book about somewhat different animals, and of course the person with the librarian, being a different person, would somewhat show Naruto a book about just would take Naruto to a aisle, and would someone give Naruto a book on somewhat just different animals. And from there, of course, Naruto would read about obviously a load of different animals. Naruto would even ask Shino about somewhat bugs, which would of course somewhat surprise Shino, as bugs generally somewhat creeped a lot of people out, and as such he wasn't really ever expecting somebody like someone Naruto, who's soon was at last to come up to him one day and start and ask him about some bugs. So and of course he'd tell him Naruto about different bugs and what they could somewhat obviously do and couldn't do, and all that stuff. And from there, years would go by, as it would finally be the somewhat obviously day of the beginning exams, and that day would somewhat all go up to the same up until Iruka and Naruto would get back to the Hokage's office. There, of course, Hiruzen would somewhat agree with Iruka at making Naruto a genin, as it obviously wouldn't be fair, and that he could obviously somewhat throw off that music he had somewhat manipulated Naruto's scores to be a failing grade and not somewhat just and anyway, though with that Iruka and somewhat Naruto would leave, though Naruto would obviously give the scroll back, the forbidden scroll, and from there somewhat a while would go by, a couple of minutes, about half an hour so it'd go by, as Hiruzen would 15 minutes after they'd left, he'd gotten up and was just looking out his window for 15 plus minutes, just enjoying some of the peace and that somewhat the night brought, as Hiruzen was somewhat thinking, was wondering when a person would be back, as he'd thought that there'd be a somewhat knock on the door, as he'd just somewhat sigh, as he would just mumble to himself that he really had to stop guessing when they would be back, as he would tell his Ambu to leave, which they would through the window. And Hiruzen would then shout out, "Come in," as they somewhat as a person would walk in, and as they'd somewhat walk in, the door would shut behind them, and after as their foot would somewhat and a single tap of their foot, and from that Funjutsu would spiral into life as a double barrier would form. The first barrier not allowing anyone outside to see in, and of course anyone inside could see out, but none of the outside could see in. And the second barrier was a sound suppression barrier, meaning that anyone outside couldn't hear what the two would be talking inside. And from there though, Hiruzen would somewhat smile as there'd be a puff of smoke and outward, and a person would walk out, as Hiruzen would then go, "Well, it's been a while, how have you been?" As the person would say, "Well, I've been fine, Gigi, how about you?" As Hiruzen would say, Nanka have been somewhat fine, though with that out of the way, report as Naruto would somewhat does not don't go well. Had I even somewhat start as it didn't go from from what I originally sent you to gather info on for. I just had to go, the person would go, right. As he'd go, well then, the information that Dry had sent back on the condition of the Land of Waves was kind of incorrect, as Hiruzen go, "Oh, and what do you mean by incorrect?" "Well, what I mean by incorrect was that it's a lot worse than what Dry had actually reported back. It's a lot worse. There are civilians begging for food, money, anything you could give them. There'd be, happy children, somewhat on the street and that." And and of course that was somewhat a building a bridge, and I'd think that probably within a month or so he would probably end up coming to either Kohona or another village. So I presume Kohona is where the closest hidden village to the Land of Waves, to request some help, as and of course Gato, Gato, he has been looking for the missing Nin, the nuke Nin. What's his name? I forgot his name now. Zamza. He's just somewhat saying, I'd say, so when this bridge builder possibly comes to ask for obviously somewhat support, it would be, in fact an A-rank mission, which Naruto would just nod at. Yes, the person, if you haven't realised by now, is indeed Naruto. Anyway though, here's a mid and go, well, what about the thing that you ended up going off by yourself by Well, I ended up discovering a nice little somewhat cozy S-rank organisation. They call themselves the Katsuki. Hiruzen would go wide-eyed, as he'd heard about the Katsuki somewhat from Dry, and Dry is some spy, aka Itachi. And he'd ask then, what he'd somewhat learned, and Naruto had said, I'd say I hadn't really learned all that much. The only thing I'd learned was that, I presume their main base is I can't remember where I was, but it was somewhere, and yeah, though their somewhat boss, he's called Pain, but he also somewhat answers to another person. That person also answers to him, so it's like there's two bosses. Though yeah, so the first boss is somewhat called Pain, or at least that's what he calls himself. Pain, and he has like purple ringed eyes, which he's wide-eyed. That has, purple ringed eyes. Here's mid muse. That meant the really gone. Though here's some wouldn't say nothing. We just nod as matter. It's somewhat continue as it go, and the next person was a somewhat masked man with some a swirled mask that was orange and had a single hole for a single eye. Here's a mid just nodded at him and asked if he knew who this person was, and Nato would go, well, I don't know obviously his actual name, but he goes by the name Toby or Mahadra. So yeah, here's a just somewhat nod as he'd think, could this be the person that had, caused the Nine Tails attack 12 years ago? Highly possible. Well, 12, 13, more like it, years ago. Yeah. And he'd continue, and he'd state that, this Toby person was apparently somehow like controlling or manipulating the like Land of Mist's Kage or something like that. And they mentioned something about like a husk of something and needing all nine-tailed beasts for for it to, and that somewhat would have stated more, but I'd somewhat obviously talked to one of the civilians in that place that had told me that that the somewhat leader, anytime it starts raining, that leader would know who's like where, and who's who's where, and who is somewhat obviously it's like infiltrated if there's obviously anyone that shouldn't be there. No, and his image is somewhat nod, and then go, wait, you said rain, right? Not to nod, yeah, like from the sky, GG. His image somewhat says it go, Nato, you entered the rain, as Nato would just blink and go, huh? What do you mean? As his image silence again, and it's I mean, like, there's a literal village called Rain, Nato. It's like, huh? That's a weird name to name your village, isn't it? His image somewhat just nod and go, well, actually it's called Magika, or Village Hidden by Rain. And I'd go, huh. As his mood somewhat state that Dry had been trying to get into that for a couple of years now, and he would ask how he'd gotten in, and out would go, really? I just walked straight in. It wasn't really that hard at all. As his man just starting at us, was like, what? It's true, it wasn't really that hard. I just really somewhat walked in, as his man just shake his head, knowing that Naruto's stealth abilities when he wanted to be stealthy was insane, so yeah. Though his man just sort of nowadays go, though I presume you know that high, like my clone that I'd left had passed the gaining, or at least you had passed him, and that I'm kind of now like an actual official shinobi of Kohona, though gaining. I'm presuming you'd want me to stay quiet about my abilities for right now, which Hosen would somewhat nod and would go, well, you can slowly reveal them, but yeah, I'd prefer you to somewhat stay quiet on your abilities for right now, Naruto. Naruto would somewhat nod and would then ask, well, then I presume I'm probably not going to be called upon anytime soon, like in the next month or two, which Hosen would go, well, not unless something, something where, like, we need, obviously information stat. But, yeah, otherwise, yeah, you won't be needed for the next month or two. Yeah, Naruto would just nod as, yeah, then obviously somewhat tell Naruto that he can now somewhat obviously go. Naruto would nod as he would somewhat leave and would Senshin back home, disappearing in a cloud of smoke. And yeah, Hosen would somewhat once again turn around and get up from his chair and would just somewhat turn in his chair as Naruto would leave, the two barriers would drop as the Anbu, seeing that they could now see, and meant that the private conversation between Naruto and Hosen was over and they could enter. Yeah, and Anbu would state, was he back or was that a clone? And Hosen would state that he was now back. They said Anbu would somewhat just nod at that, known. Well, yeah, and said Anbu would ask, obviously, was there anything to be, was anything something to be concerned about? As his just somewhat would sigh, but would nod and go, pretty much, what now? Well, he would say, well, his official mission had come back stating that a person from the Land of Waves could be coming in next month or so, and that he'd somewhat be asking for a possible, obviously, C rank mission, though in fact it'd probably be a B to A rank mission. The would somewhat nod, and his somewhat unofficial mission that he'd put himself on had yielded S rank information, and that time obviously not going to share for security reasons. The Amber would somewhat just nod and would just go, somewhat shake the head and would somewhat state that it seems like Naruto is always somewhat bringing back S rank, somewhat info. His would somewhat chuckle slightly and would nod as he'd go, it seems that he is. And yeah, with that, 2 days would go by. Obviously the next day, Naruto would have gone and obviously got his ninja registration done, and that would all go to the same in canon. Naruto would be playing the Fool, which, being a spy, would be pretty easy for him, as he'd have to tend to be stuff like a fox, from animals to different, people. So yeah, he could quite easily play a Fool, and especially the Fool that he'd been playing for the past somewhat year and a half, that he'd kind of become somewhat spy. And yeah, and it'd been somewhat around 8 to 9 months after he'd started being Konoha's spy, did Hiruzen somewhat dubbed Naruto Konoha's best spy ever. Even being better than Dry, which could generally get almost any information. But yeah, and so Naruto didn't obviously believe that he was Konoha's best spy. Yeah, sure, you could get certain information, but well, yeah, it was just all somewhat thanks to his own curiosity with the transformation jutsu and just learning and just somewhat seeing that, because initially, he just somewhat obviously would transform into different birds and animals, somewhat for fun. And obviously now that had somewhat obviously curiosity and somewhat funness had turned into, it gave him the ability to learn, this stuff, to get obviously, highly somewhat classified and dangerous information. And yeah, and obviously somewhat after that, being obviously when the Genin, when obviously, the people, their teams would obviously be announced. Naruto would be placed on Team 7. So with Sasuke and Sakura, as Naruto would still be the dead last, as again he was playing the fool, so he would stay the dead last. And yeah, obviously from there, the instructions that would all somewhat go the same. And and obviously a month would go from there. Obviously the Genin test would also go the exact same. Nothing would really change there, as well. Yeah, anyway, though, of course, that would finally be the day in which the bridge builder would arrive. Yeah, of course, the day would be the day in which the bridge builder would arrive, or well, more so that was the day before, though today was the day that he'd talk to Hiruzen, needing a somewhat day, somewhat break and somewhat relax, as he'd been somewhat obviously, trying to get from obviously his homeland, Land of Waves, to Konoha to ask for help. So he'd go to Hiruzen and would after ask, he would with some obviously request a mission for them, for him to somewhat escort him back to the Land of Waves. So Hiruzen would somewhat nod and go, I'd presume this would be an A, though Hiruzen would somewhat look at him and go, I do know the current situation of waves, which would cause the bridge to go, well, if you knew our situation, then how comes you didn't send helpers? And go, well, the reason why, well, more so because international. As the person would go in, the bridge would go, what do you mean by international? Well, if we'd sent just Anbu or Jonin to aid you, the other nations, the other elemental nations, and that would see it more as Konoha or Fire Country trying to claim more land. So instead we somewhat waited for obviously you to come, because we knew you'd be coming in the next month or so. While we presumed that you'd obviously come to us in a month or so to request a mission. So yeah, you don't have to worry as such. I've got some shinobi that I believe are more than qualified to help you out. Tazana, right? It's the bridge builder just nod. And Simon would then ask how would pay this mission. He didn't have enough money to, which is instead once completion of the bridge and side mission, he could pay Konoha back in somewhat statements, like a certain amount of obviously like say like a certain amount of money a month once the mission was complete, so once they returned. Yeah, for the task, I would just somewhat sigh and somewhat relief, and would agree to it, as they'd somewhat agree at the amount. And yeah, from there, I've been in his office with then tell the Ambu to get teams 7, 8 and 10. Well, yeah, 3 Ambu dropped down, as an Ambu would ask just as sensei or all of them, as Susan would say all of them. The said Ambu would just nod, and the 3 Ambu would then leave to go fetch teams 7, 8 and 10. And after a minute to a minute and a half, teams 7, 8 and 10 would be at the door knocking, as Susan would say enter. Though at the Ambu's perspective of the team 8 and 10 were the somewhat more easier one for the Ambu that had, for the 2 that had went, or for the Ambu that had went for teams, for them. The one that had went for obviously team 7 had firstly had to tell Kakashi, though, because Kakashi had already dismissed his team for the day. After he told Kakashi, or after the Ambu had told Kakashi, said Ambu then told Sakura and Sasuke, or Sakura then Sakura, Sasuke then Sakura, or Sakura then Sasuke. Yeah, leaving Naruto somewhat to last, and because I would somewhat ask Naruto a question or so, as somewhat the Moto Hiruzen's Ambu guards knew Naruto was obviously somewhat, Konoha's best spy, and they had agreed wholeheartedly with Hiruzen at that. And so he'd somewhat appear Naruto's apartment, and would knock on the door, as Naruto would open it and go, I presume the bridge builder is here then. The Ambu would be somewhat stunned and would just nod, as the Ambu as Naruto would just somewhat start the Ambu like, what else do someone do you want, as the Ambu would regain his composure and would state that the Hokage-sama wishes to speak to team 7, as Naruto like, I'm a bit surprised, as the Ambu would then quickly state that also 8 and 10 as well, and he'd state, though he was somewhat a bit confused on how comes the Hokage was asking for team 7, 8 and 10, and not assigning, say, a group of maybe 3 or 4 Anbu, or for somewhat Jonin or that. Naruto would think for a couple of seconds before he'd answer back with that. Well, or at least he'd somewhat amused at the probably because teams 7, 8, 10 had the best, or a higher somewhat chance at completing the mission, due to the fact that obviously team 7 had their sensei was Kakashi Hatake, the copycat ninja of 1,000 jutsu, that had copied over 1,000 jutsu, and in his somewhat prime in the Ambu was borderline S rank, and then somewhat team 10 sensei was the Hokage, his own son Asuma, who was one of the 12 ninja guardian which guard the fire daimyo. So that, and then Konoha's then teams 8 sensei Yuki Kunai, or Kunai Yuki, Konoha's ice mistress or genjutsu mistress, and that the 3 of them together would be somewhat more than powerful enough to possibly deal with an A rank threat, plus the, like the 8 other Genin and one, as he'd somewhat point to himself, Anbu, was probably more than, enough to deal with somewhat an A and, a rank somewhat threat. The Anbu now somewhat understand and just nod, though he'd asked Naruto if he'd revealed much of, if not anything, to his teammates. Naruto would shake his head, somewhat stating that Kakashi that they've only gone on 3 missions, and that most of the time was spent doing fucking teamwork exercises, and the army would somewhat just nod and would then obviously disappear. Naruto would silence in would somewhat after he'd then slide on his shinobi sandals before shutting his door, locking his apartment, locking said door, and then jumping over from rooftop to rooftop to the Hokage Tower, and of course I'd blow with them all now that in the office. Hiruzen would would obviously tell them that he was gonna that all 3 senseis were going to be working together on this A-rank mission, which Kakashi would be surprised and would ask if that was somewhat wise, which Hiruzen would nod and a bit of somewhat explain later and what the mission entailed, and Kakashi would understand. So the 2 other shinobi, Asuma and Kohona, as well as this was, besides from obviously being just an A-rank mission, it was also a mission to somewhat to see if the 3 teams could actually properly work together. After all, Team 7 was a frontline fighting team. Team 8 was a tracking squad, so they'd more than likely end up working with teams 8 and team 7 and 10 quite a fair bit, and then there was team 10, which was a catch and interrogation somewhat squad. So all 3 would somewhat end up working as a big group, as Hiruzen would state that Kakashi would somewhat be the leader. Kakashi would somewhat nod, as the other 2 obviously Jonin would understand why Kakashi had been somewhat a Jonin, and had been a Jonin for the longest, and plus obviously Kakashi was the more powerful of the 3 anyway, and Kakashi would obviously turn around and would ask the bridge builder when they'd be leaving, if they'd be leaving right away or tomorrow at say around 8 o'clock. The bridge builder Tazno would state tomorrow would be fine. Kakashi would nod and would tell them would somewhat tell the squad to be at the front gates at around 8 to 8:30, and that they will set off around 8:30 after, to somewhat try and come early so that they can make sure that they've got everything to last a possible month or 2. They would nod as Kakashi would then tell them that they were dismissed, as the teams would then go their separate way. Obviously the Jonin would then somewhat obviously leave as well, talking between one another, deciding on obviously somewhat what could obviously possibly somewhat happen in that. And the next day obviously Kakashi, because it was an A-rank mission, Kakashi wouldn't be late. Kakashi would in fact somewhat be early and would be there at around 8ish, 7, somewhat would be there early. Somewhat 5 to 10 minutes after he'd arrive, Sasuke would arrive, and another 5 or so minutes later Sakura would arrive, and 5 to 10 seconds after she would arrive, Naruto would somewhat arrive. And around 10 to 15, then around 5-6 minutes after that, Asuma, Toji, and Shikamaru would arrive, with Ino arriving a minute to 2 minutes after they would. And from there, 5 or so minutes later, and Team 8 all together would arrive. And with them all being there, plus obviously the bridge builder, Kakashi would then somewhat ask them all to obviously, ask them all if they had, everything. With obviously the journeying somewhat, Asuma would obviously look through his getting somewhat backpacks to make sure that they did have some everything, and though Sakura would going out the back of your backpack, which Sasuke would have asked, but being around obviously so many people, if it was just his team, he would have voiced his his thoughts, but being around so many people, he would somewhat stay quiet, like listening. And Kakashi, of course, had realised when Naruto first appeared that Naruto hadn't had a backpack, which meant that Naruto was using sealing scrolls. And obviously most Jonin obviously used them as well, and Jonin just wore a backpack, more so as a to obviously trick the possible enemy to thinking that they had a higher a possible advantage, when they in fact obviously wouldn't have. After all, Jonin flat trackers had a ton of pockets. Seeing scrolls fit quite nicely in them. So Naruto would simply pull up his sleeve, which would just reveal his arm, as Sakura would just stare at Naruto, and Naruto go, right, that bear, as he'd send chakra into his arm, which would then reveal a very highly complex seal, which Kakashi would then immediately somewhat realise that Naruto very much did know Funjutsu, and it seemed like well, Kakashi couldn't understand the heads or tails of it, but it looked like a highly complex sealing Funjutsu. Sakura goes, yeah, right, Naruto back, I like that, good, as Naruto would place his left arm on somewhat top of it for a second before putting it away as a scroll with somewhat appear in a small puff of smoke. As Naruto would go, see, and I've got food in here, and I've got stuff in here. Sakura then decide right then to finally shut up, as Naruto then place the scroll back on top of his arm as he'd reseal it. As Kakashi admits that that scroll must have had everything that Naruto had somewhat packed, though in fact it didn't. That was just one of 5 or so scrolls that was within said seal, and that seal was obviously of Naruto's own creation, which was just a basic Funjutsu sealing scroll that obviously he'd somewhat modified to be able to somewhat so that he could somewhat personally, so that he could unseal a one specific item or a specific item, instead of unsealing the entire contents. He could just bring up one thing instead of 5, 10, 20 different items. And then of course, July had long since given up on trying to figure that out, because July knew that it was impossible. It obviously wasn't. It was relatively actually easy, and he was just overthinking it. Or at least that's what Naruto had told Hiruzen when he'd revealed it. Though from the somewhat looks on how complex it was, Joe really wasn't overthinking it. It was apparently, quite complex. But apparently Naruto had caught it somewhat easy. Though, of course, Kakashi would ask Naruto how much stuff he had, and Naruto would state that he had around 1,000 kunai, somewhat sealed within each arm, so 2,000 kunai and 2,000 shuriken. And he'd say that he had around 2 months of food. Kakashi would nod, and and Naruto obviously continued saying that he also had obviously some spare clothes and camping equipment, and that Kakashi would once again would nod, would then obviously ask Sasuke and Sakura with them telling obviously Kakashi 5 or 6 minutes later, with having done and confirmed that they did have everything, they would then finally set off. And they would somewhat be, I think it'd be called Diamond Pattern. In other words, Team 7 would be out in front, with Team 8 to the left and Team 10 to the right, with Kakashi, Asuma and Kohona at the back of behind Tazuna, with Tazuna being in the middle. So it would look like somewhat obviously 2 triangles in a way. And they would obviously stay like that for quite some time, up until they would reach a puddle in the forest. Though Naruto would immediately see the puddle, and would immediately realise that obviously there were 2 people there, 2 missing Nin, and would know who they were. The what they're called, or the 2 somewhat brothers that followed. The missing Nin around. Zabuza around. Gusto team somewhat Shikamaru obviously also spot the puddle and would tell his somewhat obviously team that that was somewhat suspicious to keep up their guard, to be ready. Obviously so would somewhat Team 8 with what is his name? Shino and Hinata. Obviously Hinata and some of the Byakugan would see them and see the obviously chocolate signature of the puddle, and Shino's hive would alert him to the suspicious puddle. And the 3 journeymen would obviously spot it, and we would ask Kakashi what they're going to do, with Kakashi saying just somewhat ignore it, and let's see how their team reacts to when and if they're somewhat say Jonin Sensei were to somewhat quote unquote die on a mission. The other 2 would somewhat nod at that, though what's her name? Got a name Kohona would be a bit slightly more hesitant to agree with it, though would still agree. And they would obviously walk past it. The 2 brothers would of course end up quote unquote killing Kakashi, Asuma and Kohona, though of course Team 7 would stop and turn around, which would surprise Teams 8 and 10, which would also turn around, and all three of them, or 9 of them, would witness Sasuke, damn it, wrong person, their senseis die. Sakura would scream out, yeah. And, though Sasuke would quickly look over to Naruto and go dope, Naruto would answer back tame, which would somewhat nod, and obviously, Kakashi would somewhat just think, just somewhat switch up, as he'd think really of all times to start an argument just right now, though unknown to him and everyone else. Pretty much because of obviously Sasuke and somewhat Naruto's somewhat rivalry during the academy. They'd somewhat built up, somehow ironically over time had built up a kind of somewhat hidden somewhat like messaging system between them that nobody would never ever understand. So yeah, Sasuke would, though they'd somewhat seemingly nod. Now the conversation was simply Sasuke asking if Naruto was if Naruto was somewhat ready, if it was somewhat obviously fine, and if he could fight. With Naruto stating that he was more than fine to obviously attack the idiots that that had taken their sensei by surprise. Yeah, obviously, Sasuke had seen, obviously, and it was pretty obvious, they'd taken them, not exactly obvious, but they could somewhat tell that they were fine, because they were, wood, not bodies there, it was wood. Though, Sasuke would throw a kunai, which would obviously get stuck between the chains, which would implant into a tree, getting the chain stuck. So the brothers would release the chain, and chains would start running. Naruto and Sasuke would somewhat nod at one another, with Sasuke taking the left demon brother, with Naruto taking the right one. They'd start fighting, and seeing the two fight, teams 8 and 10 would snap out of their surprise and shock, and would try and aid Naruto and Sasuke, with somewhat Kiba and Akamaru doing something over the phone, and Naruto could somewhat obviously could sense obviously Kiba and Akamaru coming closer and closer and closer, up until Naruto would then just somewhat jump up and would flip over, which would flip over Kiba, and that which would somewhat surprise Kiba, and that, as it wonder, why was that, and he'd think, he'd thought that the Naruto, the dead last, would drop to the floor to narrowly miss him, not jump over him. So Naruto had the sound reason why. Once obviously Kiba and Akamaru had finished their attack, when Naruto would go in to try and obviously kill the demon brother, though Asuma would appear and knock out said demon brother, with Naruto would somewhat stop and look over to see Kakashi, or at least to see Sasuke's demon brother somewhat knocked out as well by Kakashi. And Kiba would then ask, Naruto, how comes, he jumped over him and not dropped to the floor. And of course, that would grab everyone's attention, as they would all look over to Naruto. So Naruto would state that if he dropped to the ground, the demon brother would have been able to see, him and Akamaru, and as such would have been able to dodge out of the way because he was obviously tuning and they were gaining. He'd easily be able to dodge the attack, whilst with him jumping up and over them, it meant that the Demon Brothers obviously was keeping track of Naruto, and as such, keeping track of him, and that by the time he'd gotten high enough for them to obviously safely pass underneath him, the Demon Brothers would have been more focused on Naruto, and by the time he would register his and Akamaru's attack, it would have been somewhat too late for him to dodge it. So that was why, which would surprise pretty much everyone, of that. And you guys should amuse that Naruto seemed a lot smarter than what he, let on board, though, to let people believe, though mostly somewhat getting just thought that Naruto was, just lucky. And that, and though Shikamaru amused that the puzzle of Naruto was getting more complex than what it already was, as obviously Sasuke wasn't the only one that would spot Naruto every so often acting somewhat different. And anyway guys, with that, I'm gonna end this part here, so if you have enjoyed the first part to this what if, tell me in the comments down below. And if you're curious, yes, whenever this part was initially meant to be uploaded next week, it will be uploaded. Part 2 would instead be uploaded, so don't worry. You still be getting this somewhat what if, just part 2 to it instead of part 1. So guys, anyway, hope you have a good day or night, depending on wherever you are and whenever you watch this. Stay safe and good. Bye!